My focus is on how economists have completely misled us about what climate change is going to cause and how long it'll take. And people mistakenly believe that economists use the work of climate scientists and then put dollars on them, basically. Instead, they've made up their own numbers, which are completely fallacious. The biggest prediction they've made is that there'll be a 19% fall in GDP by 2050. Now, that sounds large, but it's comparing a hypothetical future with and without global warming. And so there'll be a 19% difference between them. When you work that out and what it means in terms of a prediction about the fall in the annual rate of economic growth, it's a 0.8% fall. Now, that's substantial, but it still means growth is going to be positive. There's not a single prediction economists have made that talks about the rate of growth of GDP turning negative or GDP falling. And the worst, I think, of this is a survey of 2,500 economists, roughly, and they all predicted that 7 degrees of warming by 20 in 2 centuries' time would reduce GDP by 20%. That translates as a 1% fall in the rate of economic growth, barely measurable. Whereas climate scientists are saying we'll go extinct at 5 degrees. This is how badly they've misled us. And to give an idea of how they just don't read the scientists, this is a Tim Lenton, the expert on tipping points around the world, saying, as you can see, that I'll rapidly go through the points he made. And this is how Nordhaus summarised that. And I'll just quickly, I'll emphasise the differences given our time limit here. So Lenton says smooth projections will fool us. Nordhaus says a quadratic is fine to make the projections. Lenton, a variety of elements will tip. No elements will tip. This century, not for 3 centuries until temperatures have risen by 3 degrees. Completely contradictory to what the scientists actually read. And what they've done, in fact, they're not trying to help us out. They're trying to stop us taking seriously an alternative methodology for economics, which was first developed by the limits to growth. And they saw the constraints that the limits to growth study said were necessary to avoid catastrophe as an attack on free market economics, and they went to the defence of it. And their work has been completely cavalier. I wouldn't give Nordhaus a Nobel Prize. I'd give him a prison sentence. I'm not joking. It's quite extremely bad stuff. And they effectively assume a roof will protect you from climate change. Therefore, 87% of the economy will be unaffected, and that you can use the temperature and GDP relationships across the planet now, which are quite weak, to predict the impact of global warming. And it's ridiculous. You can't believe intelligent people do this, but this is what a paradigm, a shared set of belief will lead to. And when they survey experts, who do they survey? Each other. This is a survey of 19 people that got published by Nordhaus. 10 of them were economists, 8 of whom Nordhaus himself said weren't experts on climate. One was Larry Summers, and I'm sure Larry said this when asked about biodiversity. I don't care about ants except for drugs. That's the level of cavalier treatment that we're getting here. And they also believe that as societies are so adaptable that it can handle anything, they try to shut themselves up above 4 degrees, but they've literally said 10 degrees will cause an 8% fall in GDP. That was in the Stern report. So basically, we're going to get serious impacts far faster than neoclassical economists say. We're already starting to see them now. This will disrupt our productive systems completely. And we also are being misled about how government finances work to believe if we can't afford it, we can't do it. Therefore, we can't afford to avoid climate change. Therefore, we've got to go to extinct because that's cheaper. It's sheer nonsense. So we need to have scientists and engineers take their place. I'm doing my best to promote that. Those are some of my websites and activities where you can find more details.